Hi, First Baptist Church. I have an important announcement that I would like to share with you. On Sunday, November 1st, immediately following our morning worship service, we will be having a business/town hall meeting. We're calling it a town hall meeting because we have some important and exciting changes that are coming your way starting at the end of November. We will be making changes to our Sunday morning and Wednesday evening programming. At this meeting on November 1st, you'll be able to ask questions and you'll get all the information you need about what's going to happen in the life of our church with regard to our Christian education programs. So please join us Sunday, November 1st for the town hall meeting.
Good evening, First Baptist Church. Tonight we are going to be in Exodus chapter 33, starting in verse 12, going through verse 23. We will be reading from the NRSV version, so if you would like to turn there, please do so. We are so glad that you've joined us tonight. Once again, we want to mention that the month of October is our missions month, and so as you can see behind us, we have quite a few lights on, but we still have a few more to go. So please continue to pray and consider giving for our missions month. Koby, if you would read for us.
Starting in verse 12. Moses said to the Lord, "See, you have said to me, 'Bring up this people,' but you have not let me know whom you will send with me. Yet you have said, 'I know you by name,' and you have also found favor in my sight. Now, if I've found favor in your sight, show me your ways, so that I may know you and find favor in your sight. Consider, too, that this nation is your people." He said, "My presence will go with you, and I will give you rest." And he said to him, "If your presence will not go, do not carry us up from here. For how shall it be known that I have found favor in your sight, and I your people, unless you go with us? In this way we shall be distinct, and I your people, from every people on the face of the earth." The Lord said to Moses, "I will do the very thing that you have asked, for you have found favor in my sight, and I know you by name." Moses says, "Show me your glory, I pray." And he said, "I will make all my goodness pass before you, and I will proclaim before you the name of the Lord. And I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious, and I will show mercy on whom I will show mercy." But he said, "You cannot see my face, for no one shall see me and live." And the Lord continued, "See, there is a place by me where you shall stand on the rock. And while my glory passes, but I will put you in a cleft of the rock, and I will cover you with my hand until I have passed by. Then I will take away my hand, and you shall see my back, but my face shall not be seen." Moses would love to see God face to face. But we know in the Old Testament, you don't see God and live face to face. Why is that? Why does God not allow Moses to see him face to face?
I think probably the easy answer is that God in all of his glory is too overpowering. We see a lot of times, even when people are in the presence of angels, they feel extreme fear and just are overwhelmed with emotion. And so that's only from an angel, much less being in the presence of God. And so I think that being in his presence would be so overwhelming. And God even says that he is so glorious, he's so powerful, that seeing his face would cause Moses to die. And so I think that it's just this idea of being overwhelming in all of his power and all of his glory, that Moses would not be able to handle it.
And shouldn't we be content with the fact that as much as God is intimate with us, specifically in the person of Jesus Christ, there is this mysterious side of God. There are certain things that we will not know this side of heaven and that we should know. And I think we have to come to a place in our lives in which we're okay with that there is mystery. There are certain questions that we will never have the answer to. And so I think that the writers of Exodus are upplaying, are just upholding this idea that God is mysterious. Even though God is personal and intimate on certain levels, God is still mysterious. And part of that mystery is not being able to see God face to face.
Mm-hmm.
So I have found this to be important, where God says, I know you by name. I have to believe that because of this intimate relationship that we have been given with God, that God knows us by name. I heard a preacher say today that he said, when I get to heaven, the thing that I want to hear the most is for God to say my name. Because there's something so intimate about that. It's not, hey you, or hey boy, how are you, or hey Sonny. It's hey Shawn, or hey Koby. There's something very intimate in remembering and speaking someone's name. And so even though Moses is not allowed to see God face to face, God says, I know your name. Mm-hmm. And so that has to be comforting to Moses.
Absolutely. And I think this is a perfect time to look and think about in our personal lives when we have employers, or even in school, when we have that teacher or that principal who we don't see all the time, we don't talk to all the time, but they come into the classroom, or they come into the lunchroom, or they come into your office space, and they say, hey Koby, how are you doing today? How was your weekend? How was your break? Whatever. Just that feeling that you get from being recognized by that person who holds some kind of authority over you.
I care about you and respect you enough to know your name, mm-hmm. to remember your name. I was reading today about a dear preacher mentor from afar, Fred Craddock. Fred Craddock was a phenomenal preacher and Disciples of Christ pastor in Georgia. And I was reading in his autobiography, he was talking about having many ministers when he was a young boy, because he attended a small church, and so ministers were in and out. And he says, the only minister I remember from my childhood is the one who knew me by name. Because he said the rest of them would pat him on the back as he was leaving church, and he said, have a good day, Sonny. Or have a good day, young man. And he goes, and the only pastor that I remember that I had a close relationship with is the one who said, hey, Fred. And so there's something about speaking someone's name, remembering someone's name, that again is intimate. Mm-hmm. And I firmly believe that we serve a God who is intimate enough with us, who knows us by name. He knows Moses by name. So even though God does not allow Moses to see him face to face, at the end of the story, he tells Moses, stand on the rock, and I will put you in a cleft of the rock, and I will cover you with my hand until I pass by. We sing about the cleft of the rock, so that's a hymn that we sing, or those are lyrics in a hymn. But when you hear that, when you hear God saying, I will cover you with my hand, I will put you in the cleft of the rock, what do you hear God saying to us?
I hear him telling us that even though you can't do this, I will give you this. And so he's still willing to show us his glory. He's still willing to meet us where we're at. We've talked about that before, just God coming to us and extending that arm. And so he's still giving Moses an opportunity to see him, but he's also protecting Moses. He's saying, I'm going to cover you up and protect you until it's safe for you to see me.
Last week we looked at Psalm 23, and we related that song to John 10, where Jesus says, I am the good shepherd. And that metaphor of shepherd could be placed on God. That's who God is. God protects. That's a major role of a shepherd, is to protect his sheep. That's what I see here. I see the good shepherd at work. I see the good shepherd placing Moses in the cleft of the rock, putting his hand over him, protecting him so God will not see him face to face, or he will not see God face to face. But we see this theme over and over in Scripture, that God has this affinity for protecting his people. Mm-hmm. We see it in the life of Moses, and I think that it would not be a stretch to say that God is in the business of protecting you and me, his sheep, as well.
Absolutely.
I think that Moses, so let's go back to this, to the part in the passage where God says, you can't see me face to face, even though that's what Moses wants. I think that that Moses could be shaken at this point, because he has been in cahoots, you could say, with God for so long. He's worked for God. He's done exactly what God has told him. So they have worked together long enough to develop a close bond. And God says, you can't see me face to face. So I would imagine, if I were Moses, I would feel dejected. Everything that I've done for you, and I cannot share this intimate moment. But I wonder, if we go back to God saying, I know you by name, I wonder if that appeased Moses enough. If that reminded him that he does have this intimate relationship with God. He doesn't get to see all of God, but he gets enough of God. And even though you and I may not get all of God, because there's a mysterious side of God that we'll never know, wouldn't you say we get enough of God?
I think so.
That God, we get enough of God that our needs are met. We feel protected and we feel provided for. Let's look at our painting for this evening. This painting is untitled. I don't have an artist's name nor a date. But I really thought it was a beautiful painting. On the left-hand side, you see Moses, and then you see God in all of his glory and the long flowing robe and his hands stretched out. In most of the religious art that we have showed you, audience, I feel like we've seen some reoccurring themes. And one of those reoccurring themes is the artist always seems to depict God as coming toward his people. Mm-hmm. That's what I notice in this painting more than anything else, is God is it's almost as if he is leaping out toward Moses, and his arms are stretched out. It's as he's trying to grab Moses. But you notice in the painting, God's face is blackened out. And so to me, that's God trying to protect Moses from this mysterious side of God. But God is still going toward Moses. It's not as if God is backing away. It's not as if God is saying, Moses, there is this barrier between us, and this barrier must never be broken. God is pursuing Moses, it would appear in this painting.
Yep. And I think it's also interesting, even though God has his hand out as if to cover Moses and his face is blacked out to try to protect Moses, Moses is still having to cower a little bit. He's still having to block some of it with his own hands. And I think that just goes to show even more so just how powerful and how glorious God is. That even though he's covering up Moses, Moses is still having, or maybe even out of fear, having to cover himself.
But I still go back to the idea that just like us, Moses gets as much God as Moses needs. Mm-hmm. And again, there will always be this mysterious side of God that this side of heaven we're not going to get to see. because God is too glorious. We don't fully need to know the mind of God, but we have enough of God. And I think in this story, Moses has enough of God. Mm-hmm. Thank you, congregation, for joining us. Remember during these difficult days that God has given everything that we need. We have enough of God. We have enough of God to sustain us, to shepherd us, to love us. Thank you for joining us. Pray with me, please. Gracious Lord, thank you for reminding us in this text that you have given enough for us. We're once again reminded that there will be a mysterious side of you in which we will never see this side of heaven. But like Moses, you know us by name. You do have that intimate, personal relationship with us. And we have everything we could ever need from you. Thank you for the gift of yourself. Amen.